Magic in the morning, and thanks for joining us on 104.1 WSTJ, also on your AM dial, 1340. 8:36, 9th of February, and this is our second edition of Good Policies for the month of February with Mike Barrett from Barrett Insurance Agency. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. I was afraid of deja vu. I'm like, second one of all time? Second one what? Oh, okay, February, yes.
No, are you kidding? You've been clearing our heads on how to make sense in the insurance industry here for a good bit of time. And I got a very, very, very close friend in my life here. We decided before we went on the air we'd do some Insurance 101, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a very dear friend of mine with some changes coming up in their life here, and it's basically something that falls into some of the 101s that we've talked about here in the past. That is a change of address, which may determine the distance in your driving to work, which may help you lower your insurance, right?
It can. It can go one of two ways, lower or higher. When it comes to rating auto insurance, among the many factors of that rating is geographic location as well. So if you're garaged in St. Johnsbury or garaged in Lyndonville or West Burke or Newark or Lebanon or Burlington or Washington, D.C., wherever your vehicle is garaged, that can play a role in how much money you pay for your insurance, in addition to how far your commute is one way to work, not round trip. More just a one-way discussion with most companies. So, and it's interesting, Jeff, a lot of people change their addresses and don't ever update their insurance. And I see it more often for those who have post office boxes. Okay? So if you have a P.O. box, we're not rating your vehicle as being garaged at that post office, right? So you have the mailing address of the P.O. box, but then we need to know your physical address so that we're appropriately rating your vehicle for geographic location. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. I talked to somebody just the other day that they had moved a while ago but never thought to check in on their insurance because they have the mailing go to the P.O. box, and we'll see that increasingly over time as more and more people are electing to have paperless policies. They're getting them emailed to them, so maybe thinking about the geographic location is not top of mind, so they're not necessarily changing it. But that can really play a pretty decisive role in cost, so it's certainly something to think about.
Well, that too, and we've spoken in the past about insuring valuables in our homeowners policy too. Great Aunt Myrna may have just passed away and left a beautiful collectible brooch. You might want to add that to your home insurance policy, right? Homeowners policy?
Exactly. Yeah. That's always a good discussion is when you talk about jewelry especially. Jewelry is always going to be interpreted value. Think about it. You went out, you got your significant other, a ring or a piece of jewelry, whether it be an engagement ring, a wedding ring, what have you. From the time that you bought it to the time that you get an appraisal, and that could be a matter of hours. That appraisal is going to come in higher. I almost guarantee it. But there's always going to be what I call an interpreted value on these pieces. So it's a smart thing to do to specifically list those on a policy by scheduling them with a jewelry endorsement. And what that does is a couple of wonderful things. It removes I shouldn't say remove, it adds some broader coverage because all of a sudden you have loss for mysterious disappearance as something that would be covered for that particular piece. You don't have to be subject to the limitations of theft of jewelry that's on your regular policy. You're not going to be subject to that deductible that you have for your policy. It may be a $0 or at least a lower dollar deductible. But better yet, it's going to give you the description of the piece and a value of the piece. So you're going to have an appropriate loss settlement based on that specific piece of jewelry. And that can apply to musical instruments. It can apply to collectibles such as, I was talking to somebody about a Persian rug the other day. Talked to somebody else about a trumpet. There are many different pieces of personal property, including think about all the folks at Kingdom Trails, Jeff, that have these really, did you ever think in your lifetime you'd see a mountain bike that people are spending $5,000 to $10,000 on?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
The one I bought, the most expensive bike I've ever purchased in my life, would cost almost as much as my car sitting out here. That was $1,200. Yep. So,
yeah.
Now we're talking homeowners policy, Mike. Here, sorry to step on top of you here, but if somebody's renting and they get some of this stuff too, does that change their renters insurance as well?
Yeah, so these types of things are allowed. There's there's a few limitations of things that you don't necessarily get the option to do on a renter's policy that you may on a homeowner policy, such as maybe having a tractor be listed or something like that. But when it comes to scheduling and specific types of personal property, that's there for you, whether it be a renter's policy or a traditional homeowner policy. And so it's certainly something that you should look into. I've talked to people who have the expensive, the fat tire bikes, the incredible bikes. Think about how much exposure you have for the different types of losses that could occur to those bikes. And if you're depending on your regular homeowner policy to cover you, you may be surprised to find out that certain types of losses may not be covered because it's broad form coverage in most cases. And think about the many things that you can, you're riding the trail and crash the bike, and now you've got a damaged bike. That's not necessarily going to be considered a broad peril coverage, depending on how it happens. So there's a lot of things to consider. It's really about, the best insurance 101 I could ever give anybody. It's about having that discussion. It's about not being afraid to ask questions, and really just checking as many options and angles as you possibly can.
Well, and that's why we've been doing this for the time frame that we have, Mike. Thanks for the 101. Listeners with us, Mike Barrett from Barrett Insurance Agency, Portland Street, St. Johnsbury. Mike, folks might want to talk to you. Tell them how.
Sure. You can give us a call, 748-5224. Visit us on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury through the windows because we are still locked, but we are taking appointments. You can also find us at our website, thebarrettagency.com. Free home or auto quotes are available there. And we're also on Facebook, YouTube, and Google. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency.
All right, and keep your Facebook notifications on because once we send you the interview, you share it up on the Facebook page.
Absolutely. We'll toss it on there, on our website, and on our YouTube page.
Thank you, Mike. Be safe for another week. We'll chat next Tuesday.
Sounds great. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
Will do. Good policies on Magic in the Morning with music from Maddie